Hi, I'm Emily. Before I was the Congregational Services Coordinator, my family and I had joined in membership just about 2 years ago. And even before I became employed by the church in October, I was on board with 52 Stories. I thought it was a great idea. I was eager to volunteer, and then I became in charge of it. So I've saved my story until I needed it. And when winter approached back in the fall, I wrote my story because I figured someone would get sick or that snowed in or something. And so I would have to give my story at a moment's notice. So I wrote my story back in November and I didn't need to use it. It was very exciting. Everybody showed up and I never needed to use it. And so I thought, well, I'll just wait until there's a difficult weekend to fill. Maybe the 4th of July weekend, something where people are too busy. I'll wait and use my story then. And I've reached that point. I need more stories. Of course, it's okay to let the project go, but I really enjoy this project. I enjoy your stories. So please reach out if you want to share your story. So anyway, I wrote this in November, and this last week when I realized I was going to have to tell my story, I went in my files to find it, and I read it, and I started crying immediately. And so I might cry when I read it out loud. I haven't read it out loud. And I thought, oh no, I have to change this because of where we're at right now. But I decided not to change it because the way it was originally written is how I really feel, even if it's not where we're at right now. So I'm just going to read it as it was written 5 months ago. Patrick and I have joined 3 churches in the 12 years we've been married. Just when we start to feel like family, we move. Indeed, it was the hardest part of our last move. We had made true and dear friendships. The prospect of finding another church was daunting. If it weren't for the kids, I might have put it off. But we moved back to Mankato in June, and I wanted them in Sunday school come September. It isn't hard to find Bethlehem, especially if you're looking for an ELCA church, and your former pastor happens to know your current pastor and says, Mankato? You're moving to Mankato? You should go to Colette's church. But I wasn't going to just do what my pastor told me to do, so I went to all 4 ELCA churches in Mankato before deciding to make BLC our new home. We attended for nearly a year before joining because it felt like a breakup and I wasn't ready to go steady with someone else yet. When we did join in the spring of 2018, I was even more taken in than I had already been by Pastor Jay's new member class. Many of you were here before he was, so you didn't get the privilege of his new member class. In class, Pastor perfectly articulated why I love church so much. Community. He explained how hard it is to do this Christian thing alone. Christianity, he said, is about your relationship with God and your relationship with God's people. The end. I love the simplicity of that explanation. I love that in our first week of Light, waiting to pick up my kids, Marie Slotemaker introduced herself and invited me to Eve's Circle. I love that we are now close friends. I love that I was asked to help with the Reconciling in Christ task force because you remembered that inclusion was an important issue to me. I love that when I applied for a job here, you hired me. I was warned not to work at my church. I was warned it would change the dynamic and I might stop loving it so much. The result has not been further from the truth. I love every single person who stops into my office to say hi, to ask for something, or to check on me. In my first month of employment, 3 different women made a point to tell me not to work too hard. Don't let yourself get burned out. And while it might eventually get old, right now it is comforting. Many of you might not know the reason we moved back to Mankato is because my mom died. Instead of sell her house, we chose to move into it. So I will take every loving smile and concerned pat on the arm and wrap my heart up in it. I love being mothered by the community of this church. I am also a hugger, so feel free. Unless another life-altering event occurs, we plan to stay in Mankato and with Bethlehem for the long haul. I look forward to my kids taking communion and being confirmed, knowing that they are loved by a whole family of people known as church, a place where they are known and called by name, a place they can easily call home.